Welcome to the morning skate edition of the Inside Edge. We are at the Wells Fargo Center here in Philadelphia. Yes, I did have to look up and see what the current name of the building is because it's had 4 of them since they built this thing, but it is the Wells Fargo Center. I'm Bob McElligott alongside of Jody, Shelley. Are your hands worn out from shaking hands? And if there were babies here, you'd be kissing babies too. This is a return home for you here in a big way coming back to Philadelphia today.
Bob, this has been tremendous, and I didn't think I'd miss this place as much as I did until I pulled in town last night, and then I got into the building today, and the familiar faces from right away, the guy who parked out in the parking lot, the guys who work outside the room, and then all the players and training staff. I mean, I played here last year. I only played one great game. I mentioned that earlier, but I only played one game last year. But I was a part of the organization. I was helping and having conversations. I call it inside the ropes with these guys. You know, Claude Giroux, Scott Hartnell, I'm still good friends with these guys, and to see all the coaching staff that's in place that I know, Craig Berube, it's really nice to be back. And of course, the fans here. I mean, they're just great. It's tough to explain it, but they are passionate and they love their athletes. And I just, I thrilled to be back here and thrilled to be with the Blue Jackets on the bus as we got to the rink today and got out with the team.
All right, so now that you've talked with some of your former teammates and your good friends, and besides catching up, I know you also have kind of picked their brain about their team and the way they're playing right now. So what was the general consensus as to why the Flyers, who started 1-7 on the year, have now turned it around and are battling the Blue Jackets for that final playoff spot in the Metropolitan Division?
Well, they changed their system, obviously. I love that they stuck with their guys. They got a really good group of guys in there. And, they added some pieces, Streit, LeCavalier. Hal Gill is in there, and he's a big presence. He's not playing, but he's a guy that I went up to him, joked him. I said, you took my role. He's the 7th D. He gets a good workout after practice every day. He sits in the press box. He said, yeah, I sure did. But anyways, the Philadelphia Flyers still aren't satisfied with their scoring. They're in the bottom of the league and as far as scoring production. But they're getting wins. They've been very happy with Steve Mason, who everyone's very familiar with in Columbus. They're very happy with him. All the players love him. Players think he's playing great. This will be an interesting test for Steve Mason tonight, playing his old team for the first time. But, I can't really tell you what happened. I knew all along when they were going through that winless streak, I could say that they have a great team. I thought they had a great team coming into the year. They have some unbelievable talent. Young guy, Sean Couturier, is an unbelievable talent. Claude Giroux is one of the best players in the league. In my mind, he's a top 5 player in the National Hockey League, and he's a great person to be around, and he's a true leader. And as a young guy, that's very impressive. I just think they got their act together, and I still think there's bits and pieces of their team that's not together, and they know that, but they're definitely moving in the right direction. This sets up for a pretty good matchup tonight, even with what's at stake, and you mentioned it with the big divisional matchup tonight, and then in 72 hours from now, play them again. And everyone knows the Christmas break is coming up. These things are all on players' mind, but there is a lot of players out of the Blue Jackets lineup, Bob.
Yeah, there are. I was just looking at that very thing, especially watching that fourth line skate with Mark Letestu and Corey Trops there. But Jack Skilley taking the spot normally occupied by Derek McKenzie. And we've seen Jack Skilley score some good goals this year, and he's got speed. He brings a little bit different dimension, I think, than Derek McKenzie does. But again, and unfortunately, we've talked about this a couple of times, no McKenzie is a pretty big hole in your lineup for this team and the way it plays.
It really is. And Gabrick, Wisniewski, McKenzie, Bowl, man, and you got to stop at McKenzie. He's the oldest guy on the team. He's battled his way up to be where he is, and he's got an identity that he brings every shift, every practice, every game, every time he's at the rink. And I think that's a big hole that someone has to fill. And Jack Skilley's not a young puppy. He's been around. He can bring a bit of a leadership quality. And even guys as young as Ryan Murray have to pull their weight in a kind of a presence and leadership category. This is a big game for the franchise tonight. The players know it. We see them out there practicing now. They're all business, and they're excited to be here in Philadelphia. It's an amazing city, and it's funny you see the young kids. And we'll bring Jeff Rimmer in here since he's standing right here. Hey Jeff, the young kids. I don't know if you noticed on the bus. The drive here, you go by the stadium where the Eagles play. What's it called? The
Lincoln Financial.
The Link, they call it. You go by the where the Phillies play, and in the same parking lot. Here we are with the with the Wells Fargo Center. So pretty neat city. And then you see in the backdrop, way in the distance, is the skyline of Philadelphia. So these kids are in awe of what's going on here and how the setup is. And Jeff, I know you were in awe too.
Are you running for Chamber of Commerce here in Philadelphia or what? I mean, it's great to see you back here. This will be probably the most exciting game of the season for you, coming back to Philadelphia, where obviously there's some great memories. But you're right, this is a great building. Philadelphia is a great sports city. I've been coming here for a long, long time. And when you look at the sports facilities for this city, and Bob certainly can attest to in his hometown of Pittsburgh, in Pennsylvania, in these two major cities, you have the best sports facilities of perhaps any city in North America that has major professional sports. And watching the kids come into the rink here today, and as Bob alluded to, I don't think I can even name all the names this arena has held prior to, what is it called here now, Wells Fargo Center. Fact of the matter is, the kids came in this building, they looked around, they walked out to the ice. Boone Jenner came out first when he first got in the building with his clothes on, then got dressed in his Blue Jacket gear and came out for a second time. They're excited about this game. This is a tough building to play in, but I think the Jackets will be ready for it come game time.
You're right, Jeff. And Bob, tough building. And that's a key to the Blue Jackets tonight is it's just like very similar to Madison Square Garden. Get the fans turned against their own team. And it can happen quickly. It can happen early. It happened very early in New York. You recall the booze. And the Blue Jackets can frustrate the Flyers, get the fans uneasy quickly, and feel it in the building. Keep the cheers out of here. That's a key to tonight's game. One of the big keys, Bob, I would say.
All right. With the three of us here, can everybody come up with a memory in this building, a game that was your favorite in this building? You'll have more to choose from than Jeff Wright. Jeff, you have any good Philadelphia moments?
Well, I'll give you my worst moment. The last time we were in this building, one of the toughest games that I've ever had to broadcast in my career. I will say what I'm looking forward to tonight, and for personal reasons, and that is the national anthem. Lauren Hart. She is magnificent. She's a beautiful girl. And, of course, her father was the longtime voice of the Philadelphia Flyers, the late Gene Hart. So it's special. I'm getting shivers just thinking about that. She does a great job, and I'm looking forward to that. And you know what? I'm looking forward to the Jackets being ready from the opening faceoff. Unfortunately, I don't have any great memories in this building, but I gave you my worst.
I was in the press box watching that game, and I feel for you, Jeff, that night. That was a long night for the Blue Jackets. Bobby, what's your greatest memory?
In Syracuse, we actually played the Philadelphia Phantoms in a playoff game in this building. It was an elimination game, and I remember we won the first two in Syracuse. It was a best of 5. So we were at the hotel. Gary Agnew was coaching at the time, and the question was, do we check out of the hotel and go play the game, or do we leave our stuff in the hotel and go play the game? Because if you lost, you had to stay and play another one. So he made the decision, rightfully so, pack it up. The mindset is we're not coming back to this hotel. We're going back to Syracuse tonight. This building was sold out that night, and we got those Boo Birds out that night as we eliminated that Phantoms team in 3 games by winning in this building. It was great, and it was a lot of fun. And at that time, not having much chance to be in a big building like this, it was really special.
Well, I'll tell you mine. There's 2 of mine. I'll bring them quick, and one of them is playoffs. Claude Giroux, the Pittsburgh Penguins, Philadelphia Flyers series. Claude Giroux's amazing. He had the shift where puck drop, Sidney Crosby had the puck on the wall, and Sidney Crosby, you got to understand this, in Philadelphia is a villain for no reason other than he's the greatest player in the world. They just hate him. So Crosby gets the puck. Giroux puts him on his butt with a big hit. Giroux then gets the puck and goes down and scores a goal. And if you were inside this building and you didn't have chills, then you weren't alive. It was like incredible. That was one of my greatest. I'll call that a press box moment. One of my greatest press box. I spent a lot of time in the press box here, Jeff. And then another great moment for me was, I guess, just fighting in this. I had a couple good fights, but I fought here against Mike Rupp, and it was my last fight of my career. I really enjoyed just being able to do that here in this building because I know what the fans love here. And it was always tough coming in here with the fighters, and I knew kind of how they felt coming in. So I tried to make sure they felt the same way I felt when I was coming into Philadelphia.
Now, you've got to make up your mind. You've got to make up your mind. Are you going to run for Chamber of Commerce? Are you going to run and become an agent for Claude Giroux, who you've talked about since you moved back to Columbus? Or are you going to become the great broadcaster that you've started this great career on radio and television?
Well, I must be spending too much time around you because I watch you walk into a building or tell a story, and it always starts with my great buddy. And I thought it was just like a snuffleupagus, your great buddies. You'd never see them. Well, sure enough, today we get in here. And Craig Berube asked me right away, the old chief, the coach of the Philadelphia Flyers, now the head coach, goes, "You work with Jeff Rimmer?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "You're really his buddy?" He told me you were his buddy. He said, "Yeah, where is he?" And sure enough, I see you guys talking. Apparently he used to go over to your house and watch football or something. But, yeah, you know what? Claude Giroux, I'll talk about him all day because I love him. He's one of the best young leaders in the NHL, and I just can't say enough about him, and I won't stop talking about him. Here's the mic and tell us about your buddy Craig Berube.
Funny, should I scoop myself here for tonight? I was just telling Bob off the air. I talked to Craig, first-year coach here. I'm really happy for him. He's certainly earned his spurs, coached in the minors, was a player that, like you, Jody, he had a similar career to what you had, an outstanding person, a great, great leader. And I asked him specifically for tonight's telecast about the coaches that he's tried to follow, tried to emulate. And there are two coaches. One, Ken Hitchcock, the former Blue Jacket coach. The other, Daryl Sutter, who he played with in Calgary, said he was always in control on the bench. Of course, Hitch wasn't always in control when he was on the bench. He says when you're out of control, it has an effect on your players and they start to panic. You have to be under control. He thought Daryl Sutter approached things very calmly. He knew when players weren't performing and he took care of it. Daryl Sutter is a coach that he has perhaps more than any other, but he did say some great things about Hitch, saying on how he prepared his hockey club and how he had great ideas in preparing for the opposition. And those are the two coaches. So I'm actually scooping myself here on this great radio podcast that you two guys do.
Well, thank you. And that's why you're here, Jeff. You're just a wealth of knowledge, and I know you always have a scoop. Anytime we're in a building, you have a scoop. And it's funny you say that about Craig Berube, and let's not talk about the Flyers too much longer, but he's so smart, and he's done nothing but listen and watch for the last 9 seasons here as an assistant coach and in this organization in the minors with the Philadelphia Flyers. He's watched. And for you to say those two guys, Sutter and Hitchcock, if you could take the best out of those two coaches, yeah, you have something. He's a very, very intelligent guy, and something else about him, every guy that I talk to in that Philadelphia Flyers room, love him. Now let's talk about these Blue Jackets.
Yeah, let's talk about the fact that Curtis McElhinney is in the net. It looks like he's going to get the start here tonight. So that's very good news for the Blue Jackets. Nothing against Mike McKenna. It's just the fact that, Curtis is the guy, and you want to see him get back in there as quickly as he can.
Yeah, you're right, Bob. That's a little boost. I mean, and you say McKenna went in and did his job, and now here he is back in the backup role. But, yeah, McElhinney has an opportunity here, and he loves it. He wants to be a part of it. So good for the team to have McElhinney back.
I don't know if R.J. Umberger has as fond memories from playing here as you do in your career, but he is going to be back here tonight. I think a couple of years ago didn't he almost have a hat trick in this building, and there was a question if they were going to throw hats on it was that hat giveaway night, as a matter of fact. He either had a hat trick or he was close to a hat trick, and I think a couple hats did hit the ice that night. Oh, I know what happened. The last one, I think, got tipped. He shot it, and it got tipped. People thought it was a hat trick, and they threw actually some of the hats on the ice.
Oh, well, that's a nice gesture.
Remember that one, Jeff?
I sure do, and Umby's a little pumped up for this one here tonight. I understand he had dinner last night with Steve Mason. Hopefully he bought the drinks, and we can get him off his game.
All right. Well, that looks like a great way to end it right there, Jody. What do you think?
You're right. I mean, this is a great matchup, Bob, and I think the Blue Jackets understand what's at stake. Of course they know, and the Flyers definitely do. The tone in the room for the Flyers was opportunity to get back on track. So Blue Jackets have to approach it the same way. And listen, we mentioned earlier with all the guys out of the lineup, it doesn't matter. When the puck drops, it's two teams going at each other for 2 points. So let's have the Blue Jackets, let's hope they're ready, and let's have fun tonight.
All right, tonight's game gets underway at 7 o'clock. Jody and Jeff will be on Fox Sports Ohio. Jody will be between the benches here, and maybe you'll pick up that stray insult or something from some of your former teammates. No, he's not in the comfort of the booth 7 stories above the ice surface here. He's going to be right down in it. Did you tell your former teammates you're going to be down there tonight?
Yeah, you know what? It was on Twitter, and I wasn't going to tell them, but I did tell them. And it could be interesting. It's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, I spent a lot of time on that bench, Bob.
Yeah. So we'll maybe censor that mic tonight. Who knows? We'll wait and see how it goes. But Jody and Jeff will be on TV. I'll be on the Blue Jackets Radio Network tonight. Again, the game gets underway at 7 o'clock. That is our lengthy morning skate edition of the Inside Edge. Been a good one. Hope you enjoyed it from here at the Wells Fargo Center. And we'll talk to you tonight. Blue Jackets, Flyers, Game 1 of a home-and-home series that wraps up on Saturday in Columbus.